I'm back. Look. Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy, and this is where characters gather. As you can tell, I'm still not 100%, but I am much better than I was. So, I am sorry for the absolute dearth of videos in the last 2 weeks. Last 3 weeks have been very unusual around here. So 3 weeks ago, I was dusting the walls, and I don't do it very often, but if you have electric heat, you know it builds up on your wall. So I went to dust the walls, and I went to dust our guest bathroom. And I went to dust the ceiling, and I look up, and there's a bunch of cracks in my ceiling that weren't there before. And I can see obvious pockets of moisture that hadn't yet cracked. Okay, then. I stopped dusting. I resolved not to tell Dave until he gets back to the office, back home from the office. He wheedles it out of me anyway. Husband jiu-jitsu. And this happened on a Wednesday. And so I call a roofing company who are fabulous. I cannot stress enough how fabulous they are, or how thankful I am that when we moved, that's who we contacted, because they have a monthly club, for lack of a better description, that you can buy into that puts you on the priority repairs list. I called them on Wednesday afternoon. They were here Thursday afternoon, late, only because I wanted Dave to be home when they were here. And they determined that it wasn't the actual roof, that it was most likely the air conditioning line dripping into the ceiling and causing issues. So they have a sister company which does, restoration work, water damage, fire damage, smoke damage, etc. They were here by Friday early. They figured out what the problem was. That I don't know if you remember, in a video last summer, I spied a rat in our woodpile. We knew the rodents were getting in. We didn't know that there was a problem. So where the rodents are getting in, the roofing people took care of, because that shouldn't have happened. But the rodents chewed through the air conditioning line that goes into our attic, and that caused the issues. There was damage to the insulation, damage to our ceiling. It had gotten so bad that the insulation between our guest bathroom and the wall that connects to the master bedroom had wet insulation in it. So they give us a very reasonable quote. We accept. They get, now mind you, we have a very small house. Our house was built in 1952. And within an hour and a half of them coming in to diagnose the problem, we had 2 industrial dehumidifiers, one in our bedroom, one in the guest bathroom, and 5 industrial air movers. It was so loud in here, and they were on 24/7. And I will insert a video Dave took after I'm through with this story to give you an idea of the noise. And they ran for a week. And at one point, one of the dehumidifiers, they come and they do a daily check. the new guy did something wrong. One of the dehumidifiers leaked. We didn't catch it for several hours. Our master bedroom floor got wet. It will be fine. It needs to dry out, which shouldn't be a problem. So there was mold on the ceiling that has all been taken care of. It was easy. I'm filming this on Tuesday. On Thursday, the restoration people will be here to make the house whole. I have no complaints. So in between...
Why are there power cords in my bathroom going into the door? Well, crap.
The roofing problem, pollen has been very high, and the flu has been going around Austin. And we also caught a cold. So between a cold, the Austin flu bug, and astronomically high cedar count, Dave and I both got sick. Now, I can't remember the last time I got that sick. Like, I lost my voice. When I could talk, it was, excuse me. I sounded like a bullfrog for days on end. Probably a good 4 or 5 days. And I got some reading done at the beginning of it. But then, as soon as I looked down, no matter how much cold medicine I was on, and allergy beds, and the whole 9 yards, I'd look down and my face would just drain. So I couldn't look down. I couldn't look down to type. I couldn't look down to edit or read or anything else. And it's just been a miserable 2 weeks. We're both feeling better, but neither one of us is 100%. Dave missed several days of work. When he wasn't at work, he worked from home, or when he didn't take off, he worked from home. We missed Mass on Sunday for 2 consecutive Sundays. We didn't go to Mass on Ash Wednesday. So that gives you some indication of how sick we both were. It is just nasty. Cedar count is still high. I'm over it. I'm so over it. So that's where I've been the last, 3 weeks. Do I still have a video waiting editing? I do. Can I finally get to it? Probably. So we're good there. But I did read. I have far more DNFs than I thought. I don't have as many read as I thought. And that tells me I'm missing something because I know I read something else. So I'm going to have to find it. Okay. So let me get lozenge and I will go through the DNFs. Okay, one more housekeeping item before I get into the piles next to me. I am very behind on videos. I will try and catch up, But no promises. I will try. Okay. So in the non-DNF category, but are books that are being returned to the library unread, even though I still want to read them. First would be Spitting Silver by Naomi Novik. I did start this. I was enjoying what I read, but right now is not the right time. It's just not going to happen right now. So I might as well go back. Sorry, I apologize that it's going to happen. And that goes the same for The Enchanted Greenhouse by Sarah Beth Durst. I was enjoying this. My brain is not in the mood for fantasy at the moment, which also brings me to Half Sick of Shadows by Laura Sebastian. I will check all of those out again and give them a try, but it isn't going to happen in the next month and a half. So I am going to return them to the library. Okay. So library book DNFs. I was incredibly disappointed with Letters to Zell by Camille Grip. This would have been right up my alley. It's completely epistolary. Unfortunately, it has, and the language didn't bother me so much. It was the toxic girl boss, we don't need a man shtick, and no, I'm just not. I am not reading that. So that's going back. And then there is Come Hell or Highball by Maya Chance, new to me author. I was interested in several of her series, including this one. This was a historical cozy, and again, toxic men are, the bane of my existence. Just, that's a no for me. And this one I'm really sad about. This was my blind book with a date for 2026. This is What We Try to Bury Grows Here by Julian Zabalbayascoa, and I butchered that. This is Spanish Civil War. It was just too graphic and too violent at the outset without context. I mean, it tried to build the context into the opening scenes, but it wasn't working for me. So, no. And this is If the Shoe Fits by Julie Murphy. Again, same problem. Language and the girl boss nonsense. Okay, sorry, it is going to take a while. Okay, last DNF from library, and this is a hard DNF. This is Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bostone. This was, I believe, Second Chance, and I just it was a no. Just the whole tone of the book was entitlement, male bashing. I don't have time for that nonsense. I have better things to read than I hate men. Just go away. Okay, so I do have one hard DNF from my shelves. That is The Space Between Worlds by Micaiah Johnson. Right? Johnson? Yeah, Johnson. Sci-fi. I was very interested. Leery, but interested. The premise was great. I read a good 50 odd pages of this book, and the narrator is unreliable almost from the beginning, and unreliable narrator, I don't mind if it's done well, but when it's very obvious from the get-go, and that was one strike. Strike two was the writing style was a hard pass for me. And then the third strike was the love interest. And I just, just give me a book that is well written and keeps politics out of it and just gives me, a great narrative. And this just wasn't it. And I didn't have the desire to continue. There are two others that are, I'm not even going to call them softy enoughs. The first one is Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter Miller. Catholic sci-fi, fantasy. I didn't have the brain capacity. When I picked it up, I was having trouble following sentences. And that is a sure sign to set aside a book. And that also goes for The Good Wife of Bath by Karen Brooks. This was Christmas gift from Lauren. And I really, really wanted to read this month. No brain capacity to do it. No. I didn't want to start it and then, not get on with it because my brain was fuzzy. So I set it aside. Okay. And now we're going to come to the long section of hard DNFs that were on my TBR for January. I'm not going to talk about any of them in any great detail. First up would be, there's the one I read. Okay. First up would be The Bromance Book Club by Lisa K. Adams. This was a book right up my alley. It was romance. It was contemporary. It was about baseball. It was from the male point of view. Unfortunately, it was written by a woman. And I say unfortunately it was written by a woman because the male point of view was, I need to read these spicy romance books to fix our relationships because masculinity is toxic and we need to know how to behave, how women want, according to these spicy romance books. And that it just didn't work for me. So glad I bought it on sale. Glad I didn't buy the rest of the series because it was a very hard pass. Okay. Next up would be Starting Over in Sedona by Len M. Spreen. This is a later in life romance. Enemies to lovers. It's set in Arizona. Okay. We're good so far. It's contemporary. Except again, we have the same theme. Men are toxic. Women can do anything. My brain just will not get on with a book that starts off with that. Just baked right in. And I just, nope. Okay. Next up would be Mr. Gardner and the Governess by Sally Britton. I didn't get very far in this. I wasn't interested in the characters. It was reading a little young. It was, it's short. I could have finished it, but it wasn't holding my interest. And last up for the DNF from my Kindle would be Flowers for Anna Lee by Casey Kennedy. Hang on. This is a contemporary romance that is short. Our heroine is 70-something and spunky and funny, except you got it. Toxic femininity. And nope. So, that gone. Okay. Is that everything? Yep. I believe that's everything. Okay, so what did I read? And believe it or not, I read books. Hang on, bird. Take that back. There's one more DNF for my Kindle. That is The Corpse at Caddo Lake by Jana Morrow. This was cozy mystery, set in an RV, heroine in her 50s. Again, writing style just didn't work for me. Just something about it was off, and I think this is the last book I DNF'd before I couldn't look down anymore, and that may have factored into it. But be that as it may, the writing style wasn't working for me, the humor wasn't working for me, and the characters just were very stereotypical, and I was not interested. So that got DNF'd. Okay. So what did I read? First up, I did actually read something for Taylor's readathon that was actually a fairy tale retelling. I'd forgotten I owned this, but that is A Midnight Hope by Stephanie Luzinski. I apologize. And this is a Catholic retelling of Cinderella. It is the 12th book in the Hope Ever After novella series. There are 20 books in this series currently. I don't know if it's still being written. And all cells of this city go to Operation Underground Railroad, which rescues children from exploitation and trafficking. And I believe this is true of all the novellas in this series. It is completely standalone, so you can read them out of order, no problem. This one was just enjoyable. It is relatively short. It's like 200-ish pages, maybe less. And our heroine is a stable hand, and the fairy godmother is a wolf with these beautiful glowing blue eyes. Our prince is badly disfigured and hides his face from his kingdom. And the entire kingdom thinks beauty is the most important factor. And things progress from there. This was just, even though our characters are in their early 20s, like 22, 24-ish, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I will read anything she writes because the writing was that good. It kept me engaged. I read it in one day. I enjoyed the characters, and I am not generally a fairy tale retelling person by any stretch of the imagination. And the fact that this book kept me focused on it was fabulous. It was absolutely fabulous. So, oh, and by the way, did I say we're going to talk about the books I finished? We're talking about the books I finished now. If I finish any more books, unlikely by the end of February, I will just discuss them in March. Okay, the last book I read in February is A Perfect Proposal by Katie Ford, and it's my first Katie Ford book. It won't be my last. It is a contemporary romance. I will warn you ahead of time. There is one very brief closed door scene that was necessary for plot development. It wasn't gratuitously thrown in, and it happens towards the end of the book. Otherwise, this is a beautifully written book about a 22-year-old woman who is considered stupid by her family, even though without them acknowledging it or probably even realizing it, are completely dependent on her common sense and just, everyday skills. And she finally gets the gumption to stand up for herself and take charge of her own life. And this is the story of her doing that. And while it's, happily ever after ending is utterly unrealistic for the average person, it was so thoroughly an enjoyable book that I read it in one day. And I finished this one on Sunday of this week. And I loved every word. It was funny. It was sweet. It was a exploration of, personal growth. And I am very glad I have more Katie Fords sitting on my Kindle to pick up. So, okay, what else? Okay, up next would be The Little Flower Shop by the Sea by Ali McNamara. This is the first book in the St. Felix series. I will read anything Ali McNamara writes. This is a contemporary romance set in Cornwall. And there was I want to say a surprising amount of depth, but that's stretching it too far. There was depth in this book I wasn't expecting. So our heroine, whose name just flew out of my head, is 30. She inherits her grandmother's florist shop in the tiny Cornwall town of St. Felix. And this florist shop started their family empire. She has no interest in flowers, cannot stand the smell of flowers, can't touch them, be around them. Her family is quite upset that she inherited it, but there you go. So she goes to Cornwall, determined that she is going to do what it takes to get the shop ready for sale, regardless of family history. She's going to put it on the market and be done with it. Well, that doesn't quite work out. And over the course of 6+ months, the flower shop brings our heroine back to life. You understand why. She becomes an active member of her community. She solves a community issue. And she goes from being this angry, helpless, as we come to learn, grief-stricken 30-year-old to a vibrant, colorful, well-adjusted, young woman who falls in love with a widower and his 2 teenage children. And, this was beautifully written, engaging, uplifting, and just a delightful read. And I cannot wait to read more of her books because it was just a beautiful breath of fresh air. Okay. And could have sworn there was something else. Captured on Camera by Suzanne Bolden. This is the first book in the Parker photography series. It was short. It was under 300 pages. Our heroine is late 40s to mid 50 range. And she goes home to Wisconsin from Chicago to help her aunt photograph a wedding. And she is a world famous photographer. She's been all around the world, war scenes, the whole 9 yards. So she's a very well-known photographer. And she got her start at her family's photography shop in Wisconsin. And she goes home and she's on a hike with her best friend, and they discover the bridegroom dead in his car, and she is determined to solve the mystery, not because she wants to solve the mystery, because she kind of gets roped into it, helping this older bride come to terms with things. This was just an engaging cozy that's on Kindle Unlimited, and I will read more. I was engaged. I liked the town. I liked the citizens. I liked the fact that there wasn't, romance thrown in, and she was helping people, not just, ooh, I'm going to go solve this mystery. She solved it because she was doing her job and helping others in her community, not because she set out to solve it, if that makes sense. So I will definitely continue this series, without a doubt. Okay, sorry, I'm having to look at notes. I don't do it very often. And that is all I finished on my Kindle. And I swore I read more than this, but apparently I didn't. I do have 2 library books finished. The one I told you I was probably finishing before February started, I did indeed finish it at the end of January. That is The Busybody Book Club by Freya Sampson. I, unsurprisingly, absolutely loved this book. I absolutely think if you haven't tried Freya Sampson yet, you should run to your library and pick up a Freya Sampson book. So, this book is, our heroine is Nova, and she is works at the community center, and she's living with her fiance's parents and her fiance, and they're getting married as the book opens up, they're about to be married. And then you go back in time to solve what the issue is. And at one of the book club meetings that Nova hosts, the building fund goes missing. And Nova is blamed for it initially, and then they realize it's probably the missing book club member that no one can find. So Nova and the eclectic book club set out to find Michael, the missing member, and get the money back so that the community center can get a new roof and stay open. And this just is delightful. It is delightful. We have 2 characters who are easily in their 70s. We have a young teenager, 15, 16-ish. There's Nova and Michael, the missing member. And while there's not a lot of book talk, there are a lot of references to Agatha Christie and how, Miss Marple would do something, or Poirot would do it, even though Poirot isn't the Christie quoting character's favorite detective by any means. And this turns into a discover yourself for multiple characters. It deals with grief. It deals with family reunification. This is just, I thoroughly enjoyed this book. Like I said, I will read anything she writes. I think I'm missing one book by her that I haven't read at this point. 2 books. And I need to read Her to Zero because they were, everything I've read by her has just been blissful. No, don't know another word for it. Okay, so last book from the library is A Case of Mice and Murder by Sally Smith. This is the first book in the Trials of Gabriel Ward series. It is set in Edwardian England, and our hero is Gabriel Ward. He is a late middle-aged barrister who lives at Temple Court. And one day on his way to his office in Temple Court, he steps outside his home leaving his house, and he trips over the dead body of the Lord Chief Justice of England, there on his doorstep. He, very much against his will, is tasked with trying to discover who murdered the Lord Chief Justice before Temple Court is, much against their will, forced to have Scotland Yard come in and help them solve the crime. If you don't know, Temple Court has its own enclave within London, and it's explained in the book, that is completely separate from all of the surrounding London, including the right to police themselves. And this is, Gabriel Ward is, if we had to label him today, you would label him as neurodivergent. He is not labeled as such in the book because it isn't a label that existed prior to, this century. He was just a man that had quirks. And those quirks included, surrounding himself with books. He kept a very regimented schedule, like the rest of Temple Court. Could tell what time of day it is by where Gabriel was on his schedule. And in fact, the book makes a point of saying that Gabriel has not left the confines of Temple Court in many, many years. And in the course of this book, he is forced to do so to investigate the murder, and he's surprised by where the rest of the world is in comparison. The second book is out. I believe the third book is out this year. I will continue this series. It was an enjoyable English, cozy, historical, just well-written characters you enjoy, and you could lose yourself for a couple of hours. And so I will definitely be picking up the second book. Okay, to the best of my knowledge, that is everything I have read and or DNF'd in the month of February. It has just been a weird month. It's been a very chaotic month. So my reading kind of reflects that as well. So again, I apologize for being gone so long, but as you can hear, still not 100%. Did you guys read anything interesting? Is there anything I should know or pick up a read immediately? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe. And I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.
La vida, man. be the man who's working hard for you.